Hello, Octo Nation. This is Cletus. I want to go over Workhorse second quarter information. Okay, it's actually Charlie. Did I get anyone? Okay. So I pulled a bunch of information. I actually went ahead and listened to pretty much the whole conference call that happened this morning with Workhorse, and I wanted to paraphrase it so I could save everyone some time. I also pulled a ton more information from it. So I'm going to go over the real important stuff first that I pulled from what they were talking about, and then just kind of go down from there. So, first of all, they were talking about a pending patent that they have filed for an ultraviolet, a UV light, that preliminary patent that can go in the cargo area and the driver area of UPS trucks in order to kill bacteria and cut down many of the dangers of the cerveza and other diseases. Okay, so why is that cool? Well, because man, if they're green lighted on this purple lighted UV light patent that kills bugs, this could be huge. All right, so in the vehicles, and I actually know that there's something called ozone machines, and they actually shoot out a UV light also, and those are actually used in places like cruise ships. When there was like the swine flu or something like that, a couple of years ago or whatever. They actually use those, so I'm sure it's something just like that, but whatever. If Workhorse can get a patent on it for inside a vehicle or something, fantastic, right? And also for the cargo area for the packages, I thought that was neat too. So, they can even start claiming, like UPS, can you imagine that branded commercial, like, we take the time to make sure our cab and our workers are completely bacteria free, and then they show like the lights in there that the packages get like UV scanned lighted on the way out going up the drone, and then the drone just drops it off. I think that's really cool, so we'll have to wait and hear more about that. They specifically talked about Lordstown and how they are going to use them to produce faster vehicles, or produce the vehicles faster. UPS is definitely still testing the drone. They are manufacturing. The patent is still pending on that winch system that I talked about, where they can basically put the drone up 20 feet above your farm or your house or wherever, and just drop this cable down via a winch and drop the package exactly where you want. So they've also got a patent pending and patents on software, and that will help with accepting packages, denying packages, and exact placement of package requests. So like, say you're a farmer and you're like, yo, I need, this delivered on this piece of my property at this coordinates. They can like literally just drop it to you while you're sitting there on your John Deere, like, oh, thank you. I mean, how sick is that? You sit there on your iPad and just direct it where to go. So they're also looking to reduce delivery costs up to 80% is what they said for UPS. So that is crazy. So imagine if UPS, instead of going down all these back roads and these, hillbilly kind of locations, they can just like drive down the main strip, drop, and start unloading like 10 drones at a time, flying out there and delivering these packages instead of going on these big, huge, long driveways that are dirt or whatnot. I think that's pretty cool. As far as the USPS, they said they're going to have to update it. They tried not talking about it, but I still pulled some more information. So they said, should Workhorse be lucky enough to win some of the contract, if not the whole thing, they can meet any capacity level, is what they said. We will look at the capital it would take to automate systems, and we would look at other areas where we could do sub-building and subcontracting. Lordstown is a great example of that, where we could take a large portion of that facility and possibly do it for a lower cost than what we could do it for. So boom, exactly what we were all speculating and saying, that they own part of the Lordstown setup. So they could easily utilize the part of that factory, I think it's like 70%, that's not being utilized by them to build those trucks. So that's fantastic. And they're also saying even other places that can maybe do a part for less or whatever, they're going to utilize them. I said, clearly we have been evaluating that, and that is part of a long-term strategy. Sharing components from other suppliers also. The 6 prototype vans that we delivered to the United States Postal Service all had hub motors. just like in that truck, right? The Lordstown Endurance. So the hub motor technology that is actually directly in the Lordstown Endurance. So, I mean, you can see how that could easily correlate if and when they get that USPS contract. They're going to use the hub motors that they designed for the Endurance, which are sitting in the Lordstown factory. I mean, how easy would that be? They can just plug them in. They're already making them there anyway. They can just use those hub motors on the USPS trucks. I think it's awesome. They also dropped talking about the partnership with Duke Energy. It says it is above and beyond infrastructure, is what it said. They can operate within our channel partner world and side by side within our channel partner. So they're trying to drop hints. They said we can't talk to other things right now as they aren't publicly available, but there's some stuff going on with Duke Energy. So Workhorse Group forms alliance with Duke Energy to support faster adoption and scaling of fleet electrification. So this was back in April of 2019, but it says Workhorse and Duke Energy entered into an alliance to offer fleet electrification solutions to existing and future Workhorse customers, including development of the EV infrastructure requirements for its current and future blue chip customers, including both commercial and government fleets. Potential offerings include single port management and financing of the behind the meter infrastructure necessary to support depot-wide electrification, vehicle financing, battery management programs, solar and energy storage, and other distribution resources. Workhorse believes that e-fleet solutions will help reduce the overall cost of fleet electrification and accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles into commercial government fleets. By creating this alliance, Workhorse and Duke Energy will work to reduce the risk and complexity of placing significant orders for Workhorse vehicles and scaling up the relevant EV infrastructure. So what does that all mean? I think this could go huge. So Duke Energy is mainly, they're like an electric company, basically based on like the South and kind of the East of the United States. So I'm sure they could set up, helping people wire up or set up the charging stations. But they're also going to help with the vehicle financing and battery management programs. And then this is interesting to me is the solar and energy storage. Okay, so they could get one of those EOS pods. Remember those guys? The stock is BMRG. They could get one of those, hook it up to solar panels, and then hook it up to the charging station for the USPS. So they could hook all that stuff up for them and do the financing. So that's a fantastic partnership to have. So the management commented and said, in the first half of the year, we accomplished a series of major operational and EV industry milestones, accumulating in the first official deliveries of our C-Series trucks to Ryder just a few weeks ago, said Workhorse CEO. Additionally, after acquiring the requisite various state and federal approvals in recent months, we are now the only medium-duty OEM permitted and able to sell and deliver our vehicles in all 50 states, which should allow us to further distance ourselves from the movers in the last EV space. Widening our sales funnel through tax incentives, government programs, and strategic partnerships, all of which we now have, will allow us to greater opportunities to build on our growing backlog, and we now focusing on maximizing our efficiency and output as we look to ramp production throughout the remainder of this year to meet our ambitious delivery campaign goals. Okay, so the numbers didn't look too well, all right, but they have done a lot. They're laying the foundation. They're still in that stage, where they're like middle of the road for the company, right? But they're doing it right. They're getting all the tax incentives. Like for California, they said that I think there might be the only one that's got the tax incentive approved. So, they can get X amount % back, the big companies there if they use their vehicles. So that's huge. So y'all mostly know this stuff. I have this always on my site. It's always down in the description of the vehicle if you guys want to read more. There's bullet points, but these are all kind of old news. The second quarter financials. So sales from the second quarter 2020 were recorded at 92,000 compared to 5,500 in the second quarter of 2019. So the cost of goods sold increased to 1.5 million from 930,000. So sales are increasing. That's great. In the second quarter of 2019. The increase was primarily driven by increases in labor and material related to costs in the C-Series productions. Selling general administrative expenses increased $3.9 million to $2 million in the same period last year. The increase was due primarily to increase in consulting expenses, higher employee-related costs, and incentive stock expenses. I have no problem paying people more, and sometimes to afford the better guys, you've got to afford it, which means putting out more money. So whatever, that's great. Keep getting the best guys. That's all that matters. Research and development expenses increased $1.6 million from 1.2 in the second quarter. Interest expense net increase $124.3 million compared to an interest expenditure net of $15.9 million in the same period last year. It should be noted that the significant increase of $108 million in an interest expense was almost exclusively due to the change in fair value of our convertible note and the market-to-market adjustment for some non-dilutive warrants issued to the lender, said Workhorse CFO Steve Schrader. Both of these GAAP adjustments are non-cash and primarily dependent on the underlying stock components of financial instruments. These large adjustments were the result of the stock price at $17.39 on June 30th compared to $1.81 on March 31st. Such an incredible rip there. Due primarily to these non-cash adjustments, our net loss was $131.3 million compared to net loss of $20.1 million in the second quarter of 2019. A better indication of operating performance would be loss of operations, which was $7 million this quarter compared to $4.1 in the second quarter of 2019. So they were able to work slightly through what was going on, but no matter what, everything had to calm down and kind of slow down for production. So I still think it's okay. Currently, as a result of the company's $70 million in financing and the exercising of previous issued stock warrants and options, the company has approximately $105 million of cash liquid availability. So the Workhorse net loss was $131 million and change for the second quarter in 2020. I put this graph here. This is directly from the statement. There you can see it. I also pulled these nice graphs from WCCFtech.com. So if you want to check out their site, do it. But I found these great graphs. So you can see here, you got Q1 of 2020. They had 84,000, and then over here the consensus was supposed to be I don't know why the consensus was thinking 275, which would be for like 3x what they were in Q1, but the actual was 92. So they actually increased. It's just they didn't hit these monster crazy numbers. It was probably because they didn't think the Cerveza thing was going to happen. That could have been what it was. I don't know, but regardless, a decent graph to look at. This is their site, that one I was telling you about where I got these from. And over here you can see the operating expense comparison. You can see the research and development costs. This is great. So the blue is the Q2, the yellow is the Q1, and then the red is the end of last year. So you can see the operating expenses, definitely went down compared to first quarter. So again, I think what was going on is they were doing less production. I think that really hurt them. Workhorse has also reported $26.2 million in cash and cash equivalent for Q2 2020. So you can see that cash and cash actually went up, almost double, which is good. Finally, Workhorse reported a net loss of $131 million, which is not good. So Q1 was positive a little bit, and then Q2 is just massive loss. So, but again, they're in that stage where they've got to pay to get all that crap done. Like, don't think that EPA approval and all that is free. Okay? No, to get that approval, you've got to pay the EPA to come evaluate your stuff. They probably make you give them a truck. All that stuff costs money. But now they're set up. They're set up for California. Now California, they're all approved through them officially and approved for their tax breaks through California. So that means when people buy them, they get a massive credit. So I think this will be good. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments. Either way, if I missed anything or I messed up anything, let me know down below too. I've still got a good video coming out probably later today also on some more EV information. So thanks again, everyone. And it looks like we're almost to 1,000 subscribers. And don't forget, all you got to do to enter some silver is just leave a comment, and I'm going to randomly pick someone. I'm going to send you some silver. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.